Welcome to the Vault Studios NFL podcast, an Australian twist on all things NFL. The boys are cracking into a nice cold beer from Burnley Brewing. Let's join them.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, JA, and I am joined by the great man himself, Richie Garraway. How are you, buddy?
Excellent, mate. How you doing?
Well, we're in what, day 207 of lockdown in Melbourne, Victoria. Loving it. Cleaned out my studio. That was fun.
Hey, where else would you rather be?
In America watching NFL. But that's
like our mate Sammy was on the weekend, teasing us on Saturday morning.
But that's my answer to everything when someone says, where would you rather be? It's always in America. Like when I was getting married to my wife, she said, where else would you rather be? And I said, in America watching the NFL. But this is very close second, don't get me wrong. Like, I like you a lot. But football stole my heart well before you, and it's going to love me well after you. I guarantee it. We've got a loaded show tonight, Richie. We've got, in my usual JA fashion, I've mistimed the divisions. I thought we had enough to do two more. We didn't. I actually think we missed a week. I think that's what's caused it. I don't know. We're going to do the North tonight, though, both North, so the AFC and the NFC. So we'll get into that real quick. Just wanted to quickly thank our amazing sponsors, Burnley Brewing. I am having, Richie, have a look at the artwork. The new draft. That's the new draft. Look at the artwork on it. Like, they have cool artwork. And then you've got this new beer that's just come out. It's like a New Zealand IPA. The artwork is so cool. Like, I want them to do some design stuff for me, but, you know, they never will because Horsey's the fucking man. They'll never take that role. But, their designs are really cool. I've got a lot of respect. You almost, even if the beer could not be that good and you'd still drink it because the design's so cool, or you'd at least try it. Like, you'd buy it just for the design. They're really good. But thank you to our friends at Burnley Brewing, guys. They are doing takeaway food at the moment. So if you're in Richmond, you're in near 648 Bridge Road, Richmond, get a pizza, pasta. Their food's. Well, I actually went past today and got some for lunch. Their food is outstanding. So make sure you get something there. And they do takeaway beers and stuff. So they also do takeaway schooners where you can say you're going for one of your exercise walks in Richmond, roll in, get a schooner in a plastic cup, and have it while you walk around. Don't worry about your water bottles. Walk with Burnley Brewing hydrating you. That's what I say. That should be a line on a poster for them. Also, the great man himself, Dylan at Dark Horse Electrics, our other sponsor, absolute weapon. Make sure if you're looking for any electrical work, get in contact with Dylan. Give him a follow on all the social medias. Also give Burnley Brewing a follow on their social medias and get around our sponsors. They go a massive way to helping us out. Patreon this month, $10 a month. Sign up this month it's in a bag signed up. So it's a signed Keenan Allen Chargers jersey, the powder blue. It's schmick. It's a real nice jersey signed by Keenan Allen, who's, you know, one of the best receivers in the league. So make sure you want to get your hands on that. You've got 7 days to get signed up to be in the running for that next month. And thank you to our current patrons. We really appreciate you guys, all your support, because it goes an absolute massive way to helping the studio with what it needs. So really do appreciate that, guys. Richie, let's just get into it. Let's get into the AFC North. Last year, you had, I don't know why it shocked me, but I remember now, but you had the Steelers winning it at 12-4, the Baltimore Ravens 11-5 in the playoffs, and the Cleveland Browns were also 11-5 in the playoffs, and that let the Cincinnati Bengals down the bottom of the list. And let's start there, as we always start with the bottom. I think, for me, the big story last year was how good Joe Burrows looked. Number one pick in the draft. He looked outstanding. They couldn't really protect him, which was a problem. And he ended up getting hurt. And, you know, it was probably not ideal. And then they kind of doubled down this year by having an opportunity to draft what a lot of people think is the best defensive lineman for a long, long time in Penei Sewell. And instead they went for... I'm having a mental blank on the receiver's name.
Chase.
Chase went for Chase, he's an LSU guy, isn't he, Rich? You're my college boy. So they went for Chase in the first round to pair up with Burrow, which is exciting, but I feel like maybe it could have been better spent on the offensive line protecting your quarterback. But then a lot of people would argue that you get an elite wide receiver and he can get rid of the ball quicker, and it takes takes pressure off the offensive line as well. But the big story is how Burrow is going to come back from a serious knee injury. Reports are he's on track to play the first game, but I think they want to move very slowly with him.
Yeah, well, he's taken part in basically every single practice, every single OTA in the preseason, wearing a brace, obviously. Early, he moved a little limited, but overall, the talk is he's ready to go. If he is, roll him out there. If he's not, take it slow. That's up to the doctors. I'm not going to try and play doctor and say, oh, you should ease him in, or so. I have no idea. He could have had an excellent recovery for all we know. We're not looking at the MRIs. And even if we were, we don't know what the fuck we're looking at. So
100%.
if he's ready to go, roll him out. The biggest thing, it's going to go as far as he takes them. In the glimpse we saw of him last year, he's special. He's going to be a difference maker. They have a franchise quarterback.
Yep.
Big concern right now for the Bengals is there's just not enough there.
They didn't do enough in free agency for me either, and maybe that's the plan. I don't know.
That they know for a fact with how difficult and how competitive their division is, they're a couple of years away. Don't blow your load now because you don't know how Burrow's going to come back in 2021.
Yeah.
The aiming point for being competitive for the Browns, I'm so used to saying that, for the Cincinnati is 2022. You want them to get better this year, but they're not going to compete this year.
But is 2022 going to be with a new coach? Because you've got, I've forgotten his name, Taylor, going into his third year as a coach, as the head coach. Is he going to survive his third year? If they don't have any improvement this year and they're a top 5 pick again, I don't think they'll bring him back, because you got to look at like young quarterback. Now's the time. If you were going to make a move to a new coach, you do it and try and bring in a new guy to work with your star quarterback. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen enough. It's Taylor, isn't it? It's Zach Taylor. I'm certain I've got it right.
Look, you can if he's a placeholder coach, who cares? If the new coach comes in next year and the rosters can improved obviously this year and improves again next year, you're going to have a lower draft pick, you would imagine.
Agreed.
Even if he gets fired, who cares? New guy's going to have more talent. It'd be like a Stefanski type of thing taking over in the Browns. There's more talent. You get the right coach. Hooray. Now, if he coaches them really well this year and they lose a bunch of close games and there's obvious improvement, Burrow gets through the year unscathed, then you can keep going with him. And if he's not, let him go, get another one.
Move on.
I don't see the big deal.
I was going to say, defensively, I think they've got like that. They signed Hendrickson, who was, he was a sack darling last year. He was a statistical darling, but I don't think his play matches his stats last year. I don't think he's as good as what everyone's making him out. The one guy I do really love on this defense is Jesse Bates. He's looking for a new contract. He is an outstanding safety. Unfortunately, safeties don't get paid as much anymore, but he's a real good player. They also bought over Awuzie from the Dallas Cowboys, a guy I've got a bit of time for. One of the best names in the NFL, Chippendale Awuzie. I think you'll struggle to find a better one. They also bought over another good name in Larry Ogunjobi from the Browns.
Yeah, it's a great one.
He's a real solid inside D tackle, but had a lot of interchange. Atkins is gone now. Geno Atkins is gone, and he's past his prime anyway. But they don't have a ton of talent on that defense, and I think it's going to be an uphill battle. I think they'll certainly be the bottom, but I think you nailed it, Richie. This team's not aiming to be competitive now. This team's aiming to be competitive, 2022, and then 2023 start competing for, championships. So they certainly have nailed the first part in Joe Burrow. Hopefully he comes back healthy. Like I think me and you both hope that, Richie. We're big believers if we want the best players to be playing football. We hope Joe Burrows is back at full strength and we see him develop and become even better from last year. But I really hope Chase ends up being as good a player as what they hope he is, because if Sewell ends up being what people think he is and what he's looked like so far, and you let that go for a receiver that in a deep receiver class, that'll be a bitter pill to swallow. So I hope that works out. Richie, let's go to the Cleveland Browns. You start us up, mate. You're a bit of a secret Browns fan. I know you are. What are you feeling about them? 11 wins last year. Are they going to improve this year or stay about the same?
100%. I love them this year. They're going to win the division. That team is so loaded. It's not even funny. And the improvement of Baker Mayfield over last year was exceptional. He started the year a little bit slow and was a bit off, but by halfway through the season to the end of the year, he only ranked behind, I think, Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes in most categories, and certainly QBR, and you can take that for what it's worth. But his play was exceptional. He got them their first playoff win in like 27 years or something like that.
Too.
Sorry?
Against a division rival in the Steelers as well.
100%. And
that's a big story. That's something that's looked over a little bit too much, I think.
Yeah, and one of the big things is this is going to be the first off season where he won't have a new offensive coordinator or a new system. So it's his second year in his fancy system, and we saw how much he improved throughout the season. It's like everybody saying, "Oh, the Browns were better off without OBJ." What a fucking stupid thing to say.
Wrong.
He was getting more comfortable with the offense as it went on, and where OBJ plays, he was hitting that position consistently in the second half of the year. It just wasn't OBJ because he blew his knee out. So anyone who wants to take that narrative, you just don't know anything about football. I'm sorry to be rude, but you really don't.
The more talent you have on the field, the better. Now, maybe they were a better locker room without him. That's a question we can't answer. But from all reports, OBJ is not. He's not that. He's not a maligned guy in the NFL. Like the Giants never talk ill of him. I know he had his issues there, but in terms of like. He's a bit like Des Bryant. He's always been directed at wanting to be a winning team, not at himself. I think Des Bryant's misunderstood in that way too. Everyone thinks he wanted the stats. He didn't. He wanted to win, and that's what he was so devoted to winning. That, and in his mind, he was the best player on the field, and he wanted to be the one that was winning the game. That's where it got. T.O. was the same. Jerry Rice was the same. Randy Moss was the same. All these guys are the same.
Yeah.
So I'm with you there.
On that. They're going to be better with him back, and he's been taking part in everything. Yeah, they're going to be starting with Landry, Beckham. They've got a host of tight ends.
I could argue they've got the two best running backs in the league in the same team.
And Hunt.
In the division. Hunt
Absolutely.
Now, when Hunt can get away from punting, he's a terrific running back.
And look, I hadn't even got to them yet. And then there's guys like people don't watch the Browns week in, week out, and I do. But guys like Donovan Peoples-Jones and Rashard Higgins, they are two bloody good 3 and 4 receivers. This team is stacked, and on defense, it's just as good. The O-line is arguably the best in the league. The D-line is so good. Oh, good. I'm glad you agree.
It's outstanding.
I know it's basically been golden shower time for me on the Browns, but they are so good now on the field, and they're led so well. I'm so impressed with their front office and with Stefanski. I reckon they're going to be awesome.
Year, Rich, where I remember watching the Browns and saying, they'd get up, especially in the Pittsburgh game. Pittsburgh started rolling home in that game and trying to catch them. And Baker had this drive where he just methodically went down the field, hit all the right guys, and scored a touchdown. And that I can vividly remember messaging you going, Baker's he's developed here. Like I can see another step from him. That was a mature drive. He didn't just think, I'm going to blow him up with a big play here. You go back to the Atlanta Patriots Super Bowl when Matt Ryan got stripped by Donta Hightower, when the running back released into the back, didn't block the guy and released for the quick dump down, and he wanted to take the shot to Julio Jones, when in hindsight, he dumps that down to the running back. The running back probably gets 25, 30 yards and they kick a field goal and they win the game. But instead, he went deep and he didn't get the throw off, fumbled, turned over, and the game changed. But I thought Baker had those moments where he went, you know what, I'm just going to get us down the field, score a field goal, score a touchdown, put some points on the board, put more pressure back on Pittsburgh, and make them put them out of the game. And there was some maturity there. And also defensively, Myles Garrett is probably the best edge rusher in the league. He's certainly in the elite category, and I don't think anyone's going to argue with me there. You then add Clowney onto the other side.
Yep.
Clowney's
cheap signing.
Yeah, cheap signing, 1-year deal, so he's going to be motivated. He's opposite Garrett, so he's going to have the freedom of a one-on-one rush. They also added Malik Jackson on the inside, who's a really good interior pass rusher. Linebackers I'm not loving, but Owusu Koromoa, who we both think is an outstanding draft pick, has been flying around all preseason. They added Johnson III from the Rams, who was the third-ranked safety in the league last year, according to Pro Football Focus, and Troy Hill from the Rams, who's a real solid slot corner. He was the 27th ranked corner last year in the NFL, which, if you don't know, most teams have 3 corners. So if you're 27, you're in the top third of the league. That's a good rating. So mix that with Ward, who I think is a really, really good corner. I think he's been kind of underrated the last couple of years. I gave them a bit of a hard time for picking him at number 4, but they've kind of proved what the fuck do I know. He's been a great corner. And they've also got Greedy Williams, who a lot of people had going in the first round last year, ended up falling. Didn't have a great rookie year, was injured, but if he comes back, the sky's kind of the limit for this team. Greg Newsome, the second they took in the first round as well this year. A lot of people think he was one of the best corners in the league in college football last year. So they've got all the pieces together. I guess we just got to see now if they've got that winning culture. And I'm with you, Richie. I said when we get to the thing, I think this is the Ravens. This is the Ravens-Browns division, if you ask me, and they're going to be fighting to the very end. Yeah,
by absolute miles.
Yeah, let's move on to the Ravens there. I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on the Ravens. They're
almost the same.
Like they lost an edge rusher in Matt Judon, and then they draft is it Way, the outside linebacker. They bring in Lamar, they bring in Houston, who's a long time pass rusher, I guarantee you he's going to give them success. They've still got Calais Campbell, Brandon Williams, the big inside tackle. Queen's the first round pick, been outstanding at linebacker. I think the defense will be what it always is because they're always good. They've got Marlon Humphrey, Peters at the other corner spot, who's a ball hawk who'll generate turnovers. Defensively, they're going to give you the production they always give you. The only question I have for this team, or there's two questions. Offensive line, I like it. Jackson needs to become a more consistent passer of the ball. I've seen him run. I'm sold. I'm fucking sold on him being a running quarterback. He could be the best running back in football if he moved to running back. I genuinely believe that. He's that athletic. But there's a few question marks here. You've got Marquise Brown, who had a solid rookie year and then has completely dropped off, threw the toys out of the cot last year, soaked up the whole season, didn't really have that much production. Apparently he's back on track this year. He's ready to go. There's that. The receiver they took in the first round this year, or the second round this year, his name's just slipping my mind, just trying to get it up.
Was it Bateman?
No. Yeah,
no. They signed him.
Rashad Bateman? I can't remember.
They signed him.
They got Sammy Watkins. Sorry, just to mention Sammy Watkins, who, say what you will about him, he's a solid receiver in the NFL. If he stays healthy and plays 17 games this year, he's going to be a 1,000-yard receiver. He's going to be productive. He's good.
Yes.
He's an upgrade on what they have last year. I think it was Bateman. I think Rashad Bateman they took.
I'm sure it's Bateman. I'm just double
checking. Yeah, in the first round, Rashad Bateman. Now he's a bit dinged up at the moment, a bit hurt. They think he'll be right for the season, but they've made improvements along the receiving group. They're better than they were last year by a lot. Like Des Bryant played meaningful snaps for them last year. I'm a big Des Bryant guy, but yeah, you know what? 2012 called and he's not there. It's not him. So I like what the Ravens have got, but the question mark, and believe it or not, I think they have a bigger question mark at quarterback than Baker, because I think we know what Baker is. I think the Browns know what Baker is, right? I think they know that he can be. He's not the tractor. He's the trailer. You need something else pulling him. But fuck, he's a shiny, nice trailer that can get some shit done for you. He's got an oven in there and a fridge and a toilet, and he's got all the pieces you need. But he's not going to pull your team. Probably Chubb and the offensive line are pulling that team. Whereas the Raven, I think Lamar Jackson has to be the tractor here. And I don't know if he is. I don't know if he can be, because defenses are smart in the NFL. You saw his MVP year. He was amazing. Deserved the MVP. Then got to the playoffs and defenses went, all right, let's make sure he beats us throwing the ball. And that's when that's what cost them in the playoffs. And I want to see if teams go to him and go, beat us throwing the ball. We're going to play one-on-one with Watkins, one-on-one with Bateman, one-on-one with Brown. Beat us. I want to see him torching them over the top, big plays, and make them go, shit, we can't just play him as a running quarterback anymore. That's what we have to see. And if we don't see that, I think the Ravens can get into the playoffs, but I don't think they're a Super Bowl team. I don't think they're winning a Super Bowl if we don't see that next development of Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, he has to go from being a very good quarterback to an elite.
Yep.
If they want to win. I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah. And as I said, I'm not saying he can't. I said I'm a big Lamar Jackson guy. I think he's...
Oh, me too. I love him. Don't get me wrong. I think he can do that.
Yep, me too.
But with a lot of the traditional guys, we would, you'd just go, oh, yeah, with Manning and Roethlisberger and you just throw all these names out. They're all gone. Breeze, they're gone. So he has to become that elite guy. So when we start going Mahomes, Jackson, but that's where he has to get to. Now, if I think he does, then, look out. They're going to be elite.
Agreed.
Now, I think they're going to be very good regardless. If he gives us 2020, they're going to be really, really good. But we'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely. Richie, give us your take on the Steelers, because I think we're going to be very similar, and I don't think this is going to take long to discuss, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, they're going to suck. So the main thing last year was really interrupted preseasons, huge upheaval in the league with COVID and all the rest of it. And they were a really settled, experienced type of club, type of organization. So the fact that they had to deal with all the COVID stuff last year, it didn't affect them like it affected a lot of other clubs who had new coaches, new quarterbacks, new offenses, new defenses, whatever. So they got away with that. The biggest thing they got away with is, and this is why I had them winning the division last year and winning so many games, is that opening part of their schedule last year was so piss weak. All their weak games were at the start of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And they went and won them all.
So, good on them, they did, but they also beat the Browns early, they beat the Ravens early, they had some early wins.
That's what I'm saying. It was a super soft start to the schedule. The Browns with new offensive systems and all the rest of it just took time. So when you look at all that, and you look at how Roethlisberger just fell apart at the end of the year, that's current Roethlisberger. And I know threw the ball well in his last practice match, but whatever, man.
It's a long season, mate. The problem is that you don't win. Winning early doesn't guarantee everything anymore. One thing I do
on that, one thing you and I always do say, though, you bank those early wins and you don't have to catch them up.
What's their schedule like, their first few games?
I honestly haven't dug into it yet because I'm doing it for next week. But
they get, far out. They get Buffalo week 1. That's a tough game. Raiders at home week 2.
That's very
winnable. At home week 3. So that's not bad. But then they go at Packers, home to Denver, home to Seattle, Cleveland, Chicago, Detroit, Chargers. So there's some winnable games there early. I don't know. I just don't think they're that good. I'll look at some positives. I like their defense. I think Fitzpatrick's
it'll be fine.
TJ Watt's the best Watt in the league, and that's saying something because I still think JJ's pretty good. But he's a defensive MVP candidate. They signed Melvin Ingram a couple of weeks ago, which is a nice addition. We're both big fans. We've got Hayward. But what's all this? They're a bit old. They're getting a bit old on defense now. Like, I like Devin Bush, but he's coming off an injury,
They're not a bit. Seriously, average age, they're one of the oldest teams in the NFL.
Yeah. And then the receiving core, I do like. I like the three of them: Claypool, Schuster, and Deontay Johnson. That's a real good three. And then Najee Harris. But again, the big question mark. There's two huge question marks, which are never big red flags for offenses. Quarterback that we're not sure about. Now, Roethlisberger's been great in the past, but he's old, and I've seen it with Manning. The only guy I haven't seen it with is Brady. Father Time will get you, and it will get Brady at some point. It just hasn't yet. He's just a freak. But it was getting Roethlisberger last season. It really was. And you've got a terrible offensive line. We talked about the Browns having the best. This is comfortably, and any Pittsburgh fan out there, come at me with who's got a worse offensive line than you guys. Projected starters, who has a worse projected starting offensive line than you. So, look, Najee Harris might be an explosive running back, but watch Ezekiel Elliott's tape from last year when he had backup tackles playing. It's awful. Running backs need offensive linemen, and their offensive line's dreadful. And Roethlisberger's not going to have the time. Those receivers are going to have to get open real quick, which takes away their element. Deontay Johnson's really the only inside receiver. I know Smith-Schuster does it a bit too, but a guy like Claypool who wants to get downfield, that doesn't happen if you can't pass protect. You might get a couple of cheap touchdowns late in the game, when the defense have stopped trying, but when it matters, they're going to get to the quarterback. So I'm with you. I think these guys, I think the Bengals will finish lower. I just think the Steelers have
me too.
I think they'll probably be around 8 or 9 wins, but I don't think they'll be a playoff team. I really don't.
I think 9 is their absolute ceiling. I don't know what their over-under win line is, but I reckon there's some money to be won on the Steelers.
Yeah, I'm not as confident about them as I have been in the past. And I think I predicted them to win the division last year. I was pretty sure. I really liked them last year.
No, I did. You had Baltimore.
I had Baltimore. Yeah, I just don't like them this year. How have you got the division shaping up?
Brownies, Ravens, Steelers, Cincinnati.
I'm going to go with, and we'll do the prediction show next week and we'll know more then, but I'm going to go Ravens, Browns, Pittsburgh, Bengals. I just think the Ravens might have. I trust Lamar a little bit more at the moment. I'm confident he's going to be a really good player, and they're going to be a lot healthier this year. I'm not going to have a game where their fourth-string quarterback has to play because of COVID.
Hang on, wasn't that Denver?
Yeah, no. Remember the Ravens had to as well, and then the backup got hurt, and then RG3 got hurt, and Chase McSorley had to play. Great name, but he's not a great quarterback. Let's go to the other North. Let's go into the NFC. I'll run through the last year. The Green Bay Packers stormed home, winning the division 13-3. They were the number 1 seed in the NFC. The Chicago Bears snuck in at the 7 seed. They got in there at the end at 8-8. Made the playoffs, which I'd kind of forgotten about, but also remembered. And then didn't they have a pretty good fight in their first playoff game and come pretty close with someone? Pretty sure. Did they? No,
so
Tampa. The Bears. Tampa Bay beat Washington. Who played?
Yeah,
the Rams play them? Must have been the Rams.
Yeah, I honestly can't remember. I do remember them making with a terrible record though.
Yeah, 8-8. Not as terrible as Washington. Minnesota Vikings were 7-9, and the Detroit Lions were 5-11. Let's start in Detroit. Let's start with the team that, you know what? If you're going to beat them, they're going to bite your fucking kneecaps as you beat them. And as I said before, Richie, if I'm coaching up my guys, especially if I'm coaching my O-line down at the Croydon Rangers, I'm saying, guys, here's the game plan. I want you to get knocked the fuck out, but as you fall down, you bite their knees. You bite them hard. And you make them remember when they knock you down, they're going to get their kneecaps bitten. And that'll show.
And bitten on the way up.
And bitten on the way up again.
He's a lunatic.
He's like
he's
a
not.
I like
yeah, but he's not a coach.
Well, the fact that he took over Miami and they had great success as an interim, he didn't get the job. I think
that says it all. Because you're right, he did have some success with them. He's exactly that. He's a substitute teacher. He came in, you rallied behind the substitute because you knew he wasn't going to be there next year. This guy just got a ridiculously long deal in a city that doesn't tend to fire their coaches and gives them a chance to succeed.
Yeah,
which is not good if you're a Lions fan. I think they're really going to be bad. The fact that they got worse at quarterback.
They might be okay though.
Sorry?
On defense, they added Anzalone, who's a solid guy, a solid linebacker from the Saints. They've got Collins, who, let's be honest, he's just collecting a paycheck. But I like Flowers. Is he worth $18 million a year? No, but he's not a bad player. I like Aquara on the other outside. Romeo, I think it is. The two brothers play Romeo, and I can't remember the other one's name. They've got Michael Brockers, who they got over from the Rams after he laughed about Goff getting traded. They then traded him a week later, which was pretty funny. But yeah, he's by all reports playing pretty well there. They've got Jeff Okudah, who was a top 5 pick last year, I think number 3 overall, who had a bad rookie year. But I said, we've talked, Richie, corner's really, really hard to play. And it's a big adjustment going to the NFL. So there's still hope that he could be really good. Penei Sewell, I think he's going to be a superstar so much that I bought a signed college helmet of him the other day, Richie. Matt Green, Oregon, signed helmet. Mini one. Mini. It's a mini. It's just a mini, Rich. It's just a little one. It's just this big. It's just tiny. It's just going to fit just right there on my shelf. Just a little Oregon. My first college one. I thought you'd be proud of me. They also got Taylor Decker, who I really like as a left tackle. He's a solid player. I think Sewell will end up taking his spot, and Decker will go to the right. Ragnar's a good center. They got Halapati Vaitai, who they're moving into guard, who really struggled at tackle, but I think he'll be a solid guard. He's a big boy. And then Jonah Jackson, who was a solid rookie for them last year at the other guard spot. So I think their O-line's going to be okay. I like Swift. I think he's a solid running back. I said running backs are a dime a dozen, but he's athletic. He can make things happen. He can do some stuff. Hawkinson's a solid tight end. Is he a game breaker? No, but he's solid. But that's all I like. And we know Detroit have a real problem running the ball. Historically, they don't run the ball well. They kind of never have. Their receiving group is not exciting me. They've got Tyrell Williams, who couldn't find success at the Raiders. We've got Perryman, who was just a burner, but not great. And then St. Brown, they're projecting Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's a rookie out of Alabama. Oh, sorry, out of the Trojans, USC, who's got a great name, but I don't really want to rely on a 4th-round pick to be my starting wide receiver. And then all that wrapped in a little bundle with the dumbass of Jared Goff, who, the only success he ever had was when defenses didn't know that Sean McVay was telling him what to do 15 seconds before the play and started adjusting after that so he couldn't tell them. And since then, it's been terrible. So bad that a team that gave you a long-term massive deal traded you away, gave up you and a 1st-round pick for another quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, this is an organization that hasn't won a playoff game since 1991.
Never won a Super Bowl, and they've been around for a long, long time.
Yeah, 1991. It's not a place where
it's a loser. It's a loser
thing. Yeah,
I was going to say a loser's city. I didn't mean that. A loser's team. It's just they're just not a winning team. They never have been, and I don't know when it's going to turn. We thought Stafford would turn it. He's been a great quarterback, and he couldn't turn it.
Yeah, and he's had a parade of terrible coaches as well. So I don't think they've hit on one here. He's a cartoon character.
Could he be one and done, or do you reckon they'll ride him for a couple of years until
it's not.
They want to do? What if they have the number 1 pick next year and there's a quarterback?
No,
all right, let's get a new guy in.
They'll just draft that quarterback
and then just give him a year and see what he does.
It's not the Ford family's. It's not their MO. It's not what they do. They give guys a chance, and if they fail, then they'll let them go. They react slowly. Sometimes you just got to know you got the wrong guy. Like with Josh Rosen, whether it's a coach or a player, sometimes you just look at them and go, "Oh, well, we got it wrong. We got to fix it." Everyone's worked in an organization or had a job where their boss is like, "How did this guy get this job? Like this guy shouldn't be in charge." And whether they make that change straight away or it takes time, it happens. And the Ford family just going to realize this too slow. They're going to give him too long a chance. They're going to be bad for longer. And they've got one of the best stadiums in the league.
They had Calvin Johnson and Matthew Stafford and could have won a fucking playoff game. Calvin Johnson just went into the Hall of Fame. He was at there is a photo, and I know there's a photo of it, but this happened all the time. On the goal line, they would put 2 guys directly on him to stop him. That's how fucking good he was. And they couldn't win a playoff game with those 2.
Yeah.
That's all we need to know about the Lions. And
they just can't. They cannot. They can't get enough talent in the building. And if anybody's elite, as soon as they come up to the end of the contract, besides the quarterbacks don't come up to free agency. No. But everyone else, they get there and they go.
Agreed. Or they have to overpay the crap out of a Flowers that no one else wants to get him in the building. And I don't blame them for that. They have to.
Yeah, but in a salary cap league, you can only do that a couple times.
Yeah, 100%. It starts to catch up on you.
Well, then you're out of cap. So, sorry, Lions, you're going to be bad again. Sorry.
I agree. It'd be if they were good, if they made the playoffs, it would be one of the most shocking things I've seen in my entire life watching them. I would.
Me too.
I'd be quite happy. It'd be fun, but I don't think it's going to happen. I cannot see it. What would carry Jared Goff?
Well, that's what I was about to say. It's going to have to be Goff, and we know
carry the Rams, who have great talent.
Exactly.
Like I reckon, if it happens, it would have to be Swift. Like Penei Sewell would have to be like Quentin Nelson, like in his rookie year, like a game-changing tackle, and then Jondre Swift is just this explosive MVP quality running back. That's the only way I could see it happening. I don't think and then Goff, just because they run the ball so well, they just play action. He just dumps it for first downs. TJ Hawkinson just has like 120 catches, and he's just dumping it to him, Jason Witten style, first down after first down. That's the way. I trust me, I would actually find that really fun, but it would shock me more than anything I've ever seen in my years of watching the football. So let's move on to the Vikings. This is a team I'm really unsure about them, Rich. I convince myself they're good, and I convince myself they suck. I don't know where I stand with them, so I'm going to ask you first to tell me where you stand, and then I'm going to get my feelings after you tell me.
I think they're somewhere in the middle. I've never really trusted Cousins, and then they go and add Kevin Mond, who, as you know, I really liked going into the draft, and they took him 66th overall. This is a guy who's a 4-year starter, I think he can be really good in the league. So you got a rookie right over your shoulder. I'm not particularly sold on Kirk Cousins. Like, he's 32 and he underperformed last year. Now, it's a make or break for him. I mean, I know he's got.
He was very productive last year. He just can't beat anyone good. He can't win in big games. That's his problem. So,
So me saying he underperformed is fair?
Not overall. I think if you look at his numbers, he was very good. Like, I could show you his numbers and you'd be like, yeah, that quarterback had a great year. But
no, I've had a quarterback who puts up numbers. Numbers don't equal wins.
No, I know. That's where I'm at. He just doesn't win the games. And he's got no excuse because Adam Thielen and Jefferson are a great receiver comp. A great. Jefferson just broke the record for receiving yards in the season as a
rookie.
And they've got Dalvin Cook, who, pound for pound, you could argue is the best running back in the league. Like, he's in the elite class. I could have an argument with you that he's the best running back in the league quite comfortably when he's up and going. I'll just touch offensive line. Don't love. It's a big issue for me. And when you've got a quarterback that struggles with pressure, not a good sign. That's going to be the downfall of that offense. That's what worries me on it. Defensively, though, they get Danielle Hunter back from COVID. He didn't play last year because of COVID. They also get Michael Pierce back from COVID. Michael Pierce is one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league when he's playing. They signed Laken Tomlinson from the Giants, Dalvin Tomlinson from the Giants, who's a really, really good D tackle. They've brought in, the corpse of Patrick Peterson, but someone who I think still got a little. I like Peterson. I still think he's got a bit to give. I think he can be productive. Harrison Smith is still really good. They signed Xavier Woods, who's from the Cowboys, who played in a terrible secondary, and he was solid. So put him in around some good players, he could be okay. Anthony Barr missed all of last year with an injury. And then you've got Michael Kendricks, who I think was the best linebacker, one of the best middle linebackers, one of the best off-ball linebackers in the league last year. Sorry, Eric Kendricks, his brother's Michael, who's the tax evader. So I like it defensively, and I think Zimmer, you like that one, did you?
Yes. I already knew it, but it's made me laugh what you said.
Took you by surprise.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for it.
They also brought over Bashard Breeland from the Chiefs, who was, a really solid corner last year for them. They've got talent. I don't mind defensively, and Zimmer's a really good defensive coach. We know that he does a great job. So if this defense, I'm gonna give you a scenario, Rich. They're a top 5 defense next year. With the offense they've got. With what you think their offense is, can they make the playoffs with a top 5 defense? And Kirk Cousins,
they can. There's an extra slot. They can. And
I think they're better than the Bears. And I think Kirk Cousins is better than anyone at the Bears. At the moment, we don't know about Justin Fields, and we'll get to him. But I think Kirk Cousins is the second best quarterback in this division. And
I'm genuinely concerned he's the second best quarterback on his team. I'm so high on Mond.
Richie, they will work that out pretty quick if that's the case.
Yeah,
we know that.
I know.
He's also a massive anti-vaxxer, so he doesn't want to get vaccinated. And Zimmer's basically said, fucking get vaccinated, or like, I could see a world in the next couple of weeks where they just cut Kirk Cousins because he won't get vaccinated. And because he's been in COVID protocol. Like, it might not happen, but it wouldn't surprise me if anyone got cut because of COVID.
But quite frankly, that just tells me all I need to know.
Yeah. So you like Kellen Mond? Well, let's see how it plays out. I think they'll be the second best team in the division. And I think they have a real chance to be a playoff team on the back of a really strong defense. I said next week when we do our proper predictions, we'll know. But I think they'll be the second best team in this division. There's some good talent here still. Thielen and Jefferson.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Yeah.
Irv Smith Jr. is a really good tight end as well. I really do like him too. So
he's
a starter now.
As I said, you could sit there, and if I said, all right, now you got to give me the other side of that, and you'd make just a compelling argument that they won't be good.
And that's what I'm saying.
That's the concern.
I think tonight I'm in I think they're going to be good mood, but I just keep jumping in between. I can't make my mind up. Let's go to the Chicago Bears. We talked about this before the show. I want to just get straight into it. Preseason game last week, Justin Fields had a great first preseason game. Played pretty well in the second one too. But came afterwards, they said, "Oh, what was the speed of it like?" And he said, "Oh, it was a bit slow." And this week he backs that up by getting fucking annihilated with an empty blitz and an empty set without running back protecting. Didn't even look at the free rusher and got fucking destroyed. Got saved by a penalty because he ducked his head down at the last second, and the poor cornerback got hung out. The poor linebacker got hung out to dry. Maybe went a little bit too early on the speed of the game. I've looked at that play. He fucked up his protection. Needed to slide it the opposite way. When you're in an empty protection, you go to a man protection. Basically, what they had was a defensive end head up on the tackle, and then an overhanging linebacker outside on the line. Whether that linebacker comes or not, you have to allow for him to come and slide your man protection over without a running back. Because what would happen normally, running back would have him. That's who it would have. And if the running back's in a route, you have to either, if you're letting him come free, you need to be ready to dump to the running back as your what's called the hot one, because the hot read. So there's no one that can block that guy. You're running hot. You've got to throw the ball. Or you got to slide your protection. And he didn't do either. And that just shows what a young quarterback can do. I think Andy Dalton sitting on the sideline, who's fighting for his position and thinks that it's his time, not Justin Fields' time. Spoiler alert, it's fucking not your time, Andy. It's definitely not. But, he probably loved that because a coach is going to look at that and go, yeah, if he doesn't know that yet, how to protect himself, we can't put him in the game. And that was kind of the first time I thought, yeah, maybe he's not going to start week one. I think they're going to go with Dalton for the first few weeks.
Yeah, 100% they're going to. He clearly, even though he's played well in the preseason, he has been making a lot of plays with his legs when a pass broke down. And a lot of them, it's just him running out of the pocket. He actually isn't under pressure. He just feels he can't find an open receiver.
Against DNs, can't chase him down. Most starting DNs in the NFL, though, like they're going to come. They're going to come
100%.
And teams are going to learn you breaking the pocket. They're going to go, well, he wants to break the pocket all the time. Hold him in there, get internal, we'll blitz inside, and we won't let him get out. We'll make him throw under pressure. That's what they'll do. That's what they do to Taysom Hill. That's what they do to all those fast guys.
Yeah. So my concern for that is if you can't find the open receiver or get it to the open receiver, is he getting through his reads quick enough right now? Does he know where he's supposed to be going with the ball? And can he throw with anticipation?
Yep.
A lot of that is playbook knowledge and system knowledge as well. And maybe he's just not there yet. I genuinely believe come week 5, no, don't get me wrong, there's not many who can come in and just know it all. That's rare.
Yeah.
I would expect you'll see Andy Dalton for 4 weeks-ish. I don't know when their bye is. I haven't looked. But you find the spot in the schedule where he could get
their bye. I think he comes.
Okay, well, forget that.
Yeah.
You find the soft opponent around week 4, 5, 6, and that'll be Justin Fields' first start. That being said, I know they made the playoffs last year.
It was Montgomery down the stretch. He carried them down the stretch at running back.
I don't think that they've got enough to really improve unless when Justin Fields starts, he's just amazing. And you can't predict that.
Yeah. And defensively, they've got some players there. You look at guys like Hicks, right? Hicks, I really like him. He's a great interior lineman. But he's 32 almost. We know interior linemen start to slow down quicker than other guys. Khalil Mack has, with being really good, he also hasn't been that good. You know what I mean? Like, he hasn't been a game changer for them other than that 1 year. He's struggled to be that guy other than that first year there. Quinn on the other side, I'm not writing home about him. Offensively, I said, I think Robinson's one of the best receivers in the league. He's in that elite category. Maybe he's in the 1A category, that next tier down just. But he's
getting Fields might keep him there too.
Yeah, and they've had some terrible quarterbacks. He's had Blake Bortles, Trubisky, and Dalton. Like, he's had some bad quarterbacks. I think, yeah. So I'm sold on him, but then offensively, Montgomery and him have to carry the load. The offensive line's bad. Whitehair's playing guard now, who's a solid guard. He's about the only guy there that I'm liking. They've just had to sign Jason Peters to start at left tackle, who is 39 years old. He will turn 40 during the season. How many left tackles do you know that are done at 40?
Only 2 years younger than I am. That's scary.
It's not good. And then, like the guys on defense I like. I really like Eddie Jackson. I think he's a really good player. He had a down year last year, and is that because they weren't getting the pass rush they normally got in the past? So he didn't look as good because that works hand in hand. The guy I do love on their defense, and I'm going to write home about, Roquan Smith, man. He's standing middle linebacker that for some reason goes under the radar. I don't know why, but he's a really, really good wide receiver. But yeah, I think All that being said, with the Browns, like there's some positives there. Bad O-line, a quarterback I'm not sure about. They'll probably wait too long. I think Matt Nagy's a red-hot chance to be the first coach fired if things don't go well early. If you ride Andy Dalton for the first 6 or 7 games and you're not winning, that is a recipe to get yourself fired. Now, if you lose the first couple with Dalton and you go, fuck it, let's get Fields in, and maybe you don't win them all or win, but you're exciting and the offense looks good with him, they might give you another chance. It's the only way he's going to get fired.
If they're 2-2, guarantee your Field starts the week after. If they lose the first 2, he could be starting week 3.
Yeah, they're going to know that better than us. They're in the room with him, so they're going to know that better than us. But we'll have to see how it plays out. But you know what? Fields is making it exciting. I hope he's a good quarterback because the Bears have had a really, really, really poor run with quarterbacks. Having a good one for a long time.
Yeah, you know me. I hope they're all good. I hope every quarterback who gets drafted is awesome. Yeah. I hope they're all awesome.
Imagine a league where every quarterback was good and the game had to be won with other areas. The quarterbacks couldn't just win be the difference in every game.
Yeah.
That'd be very interesting.
It's a better sport when both quarterbacks are good. Simple as
100%. Why do you reckon playoffs is normally good? Because you've normally got 2 quarterbacks going at it. It's very rare. Like the game, the Bucks-Bears game where the Bucks beat them. A lot of people are like, the Bears, they really took it to them with Taylor Heineke. We watched that game, Rich. I know you were worried because you're a Bucks fan. I was never worried. I never thought the Bears would win. I never thought they were going to win.
That's the football team, mate.
Sorry. Yeah, I never thought the Chicago Bears were going to beat the Bucks in the playoff game. I just never thought they would because Heineke's not a good quarterback.
And they didn't play each other. Washington, mate. Have you got CTE?
Yeah, I definitely do. Who did the Bears play in the playoffs? I need to know.
Not us.
It must have been the Rams.
I'll look it up.
Washington. Tyler Heineke plays for Washington with Fitzmagic and Joe Theismann. Does Joe Theismann still play for the Washington football team? I think you'll find he does. Let's get to the best team in this division, Rich. We left the North. We normally start at the North. Everyone probably knows. We left it to last because we wanted the Rodgers situation to be sorted out before we discussed the Packers. And it got sorted out. It got sorted out pretty nicely. This team with Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Lazard, Tonyan was a good tight end last year. Really good offensive line, or not really good, but good offensive line. Good enough to have Aaron Rodgers behind it. They lost a good center, but that's all right. And a defense that's got some really good players on it. Gio Alexander's solid. Kevin King is solid. Kenny Clark on the D-line. Preston Smith and what's the other Smith's name? It's Preston and Zach? Zadarius Smith on the other side. Really, really good. Amos and Savage at safety. It's a really complete team. Is the defensive guys, are there any guys I'm like, I think Alexander might be one of the best. I think he's in the elite class of corners in the league. I think Amos is probably not the elite class of safety.
No, he's in that next
certainly that very tier down. Savage is a first-round pick pedigree. Kevin King's come over. He's a first-round pick. The Smith boys can certainly pass rush, and so can Kenny Clark inside. Like David Bakaraki, he's in the elite left tackle class. Devontae Adams, I could make a strong argument he's the best receiver in the NFL. I could have a pretty good tussle with you about that. And Aaron Jones, I could argue, is in probably not elite running back, but that tier down as well. And then Aaron Rodgers, I think, is the reigning MVP for a reason. He's an elite quarterback who plays at an extremely high level all the time. And don't forget that they missed out on playoffs last year because of a ref call, which was there, but they almost beat the Bucs. That was a really, really close game that they almost got, and they could have been in a Super Bowl, and then we're having a completely different narrative about the Packers. All that being said, I think they win this division. I think they win it quite comfortably. I don't think anyone really. I think they probably sweep the division. Maybe they win. Maybe they lose one, but they're going to be the best team in this division. They're going to be it quite comfortably.
Yeah, I've got almost nothing to add. As soon as they sorted out the Rodgers thing for this, as soon as they sorted Rodgers out for this year, they're automatically an 11-win team minimum, and then you go from there. So 100%. I think, as I said, I got really nothing else to add to that. Yeah, everything you said is true. They could have easily beaten the Bucs last year in that playoff game. If they'd given Rodgers the chance to win the game instead of kicking that stupid field goal, that year could have been totally different because going to that Super Bowl, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? They got a pretty decent front seven, not as good as the Bucks, but they could have caused all that havoc as well.
Well, that's what we know about Super Bowls, Rich. It's not always about who's going into it. It's about the day. Like that's what the beauty
100%.
of NFL is, that any given day that a team can come up. So, and they took it to the Bucks in that playoff game. But that
100%. If they'd let Rodgers go win it instead of kicking that field goal,
he would have won it. I've almost no doubt in my mind he would have won that game.
When they kicked that field goal, because you and I were not watching that together, as soon as they ran out with the field goal to him, I went, I think we'll win here now.
Yeah. And Tom Brady knew he had to, that's why they were passing inside their own 20, because they knew we got to get a first down here. It doesn't matter how good our defense is playing, what's going on. We have to get a first down here, because if Rodgers gets a chance, I remember the one when we beat the Cowboys that time, they were like, he could have been pressured. He was literally running away from a guy on his back, and he slung it like 40 yards on the sideline to Jared Cook to get
on a rope.
It was unbelievable. I'll never doubt Aaron Rodgers. The same way if it was the other way, I would have backed Brady to beat the Packers defense. It's just the way the games go. I'm with you there. I think we're both in agreement. How have you got the division shaping up?
Packers definitely number one and comfortably. I actually think it's so hard because I don't know how much Fields is going to play, and when Kellen Mond replaces Cousins, are going to be good. I think both those teams one will be 9-8, one will be 8-9. I don't know which is which yet. I'll have to take a guess at that next week. And the Lions,
A&M.
yeah, 4-year starter.
Can he move?
Yeah, go. So when we get off this, we'll jump on YouTube.
I got to watch some college tape.
So and the Broad Lions are going to be the Lions. 4 wins for them. So
I
think this is one of the easier divisions.
The Packers are going to win this. I said the Lions would be one of the biggest shocks if they won it. Packers would be a close second to the biggest shock if they didn't win this division. It'd be like the sky would have to fall. Like Aaron Rodgers would have to play terribly, which you got to understand. Aaron Rodgers is trying to get a team to trade for him next year because he wants out of Green Bay. This is his last year. It's the last ride or whatever he's calling it with Devonta Adams. Devonta Adams is on a 1-year deal on a franchise tag. He will want to play out of his mind. Like there is a lot of motivation for this team to play well because Rodgers is basically wanting a team to give up a farm to come and get him at age 39. So he's going to need to play really well. 38, I think he is.
Whatever, Tampa can do it.
Go from that'd be great if they win another Super Bowl. Brady walks off into the sunset. Walks off his son that retires. They go, all right, give us Aaron. We'll get a couple more. He is he's engaged to Shailene Woodley, which is worth bringing up. He's only 37.
I can think of worse things.
Definitely, I'll tell you off. I'll tell you once we get off a couple of worse things. He's certainly he's 37 years old. He's got plenty of time left. As he said in his interview, I still think I can play at a really high level for a long time. And let's be honest, people come to Green Bay to play with me. Never has there been a bigger slap in the face of a city. It's like they come here for me, not your shit city. No one wants to be here. What did Chris Bryant say? Chris Bryant used to say if you saw a black guy walk in the streets, he was definitely an NFL player because no one goes there. No one. It's like the widest town in the world, and no one visits from out of town. So they're like, "Oh, he must be a football player." I've never.
It was. If I saw a black man in the shirt, I knew it was a teammate, and I'd go over and say g'day.
Yeah,
that was it.
That was it. Because it's not a travel destination. No one goes there. It's a small, tiny town. It's a very cool town and a very historic town, and the team owns the town. It's a publicly owned team and all that sort of stuff. It's got a great history, but it's be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I don't think it's going to be that interesting for the Vikings, the Bears, or the Lions. I think they're going to watch Aaron Rodgers win it. I'm just interested to see how much Aaron Rodgers goes ham on the league and where he ends up next year. Almost the anticipation of the Packers will be what's going to happen next year as soon as the season ends because they've basically said they're going to trade him. And they need to move on with their quarterback. So
Adams will leave. So
I think Adams will leave too, but they might tag him a couple of. You know what? Adams won't leave. They'll have so much money once Rodgers' cap's gone. They'll just pay him whatever they have to keep him there. They'll pay him. They'll just make him the highest paid wide receiver. And we know what happens, Rich. When people offer you money, you tend to take it.
The only way The only way he stays is if they tag him because he has to. I don't think there's a number they can offer him to keep him there.
He's right. Everyone's going to offer him that, isn't there? He's going to have teams like the Jaguars are going to be offering him that, which I'd prefer to go and play in Florida where it's nice and warm most of the time. We'll just see. That's it for the show tonight. A little bit of an update, guys. People messaged me. We are not on SoundCloud anymore. We've gone over to a new hosting program called Anchor. It's a really, really good program. SoundCloud just more a bit based around music and stuff like that. It didn't really give me some of the features I wanted. Anchor's just a much better program. So if anyone's wondering why, that's the only reason why. So we're hosted on Anchor now. It doesn't change. You don't have to go and search for us if you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anything like that. It'll just automatically keep coming. It's the same feed. It's just a different host now. And if you go to Anchor, all our old podcasts are on there still. It's basically all just carried over. It was surprisingly easy. So what we're doing now. So go on to Anchor and log in there and have a look at us there. It's not really like SoundCloud. You don't follow or anything like that. It's just purely a hosting system. Thanks to our sponsors, Burnley Brewing. Love your work. He said if you live in Richmond, they're open for takeaway. We're getting into it tonight. Open for takeaway, food and beer. Get in there and get some food. 648 Bridge Road, Richmond. Also, Dark Horse Electrics. You need any electrical work done in Melbourne or Victoria, Dylan's your guy. Give them both a follow on their social medias, show them the love. And thank you again to all our patrons. And, if you're interested in signing up, links always below. And $10 a month gets you in with a chance to win Keenan Allen jersey, signed Keenan Allen jersey, Chargers jersey. And then the second pick gets a slab of beer from Burnley Brewing and subby holder. So it's a pretty good prize as well. But yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. Richie, thank you as always, mate. Next week, guys, prediction extravaganza show. It's probably my favorite show of the year other than the Super Bowl prediction show. I think they're my two favorite shows. The anticipation is going to be high. Richie, we need to work out what we're going to do for the Cowboys-Bucks game.
Week one.
How we're going to, first of all, we'll have to watch it together no matter what, whether we watch it on StreamYard because I don't think we're
have to lock down.
Yeah. And also what we're going to do, the losing team has to do. We'll discuss that and we'll announce that next week, but that'll be a fun one. Thanks for being here, mate, and I'll talk to you next week.
See you, mate.